So good morning and welcome to our webinar today, the 7 Myths of Nearshoring. Today we will present you in this webinar some of our experiences coming from the last years with the topic of nearshoring, mainly in Germany. Actually, the title could be the 7 Myths of Nearshoring in Germany. This is the market we're working in and this is what we also know directly. I'm Davide Criscione. I'm the founder of Nearshoring.com. And with me today, co-presenter will be Kai Staffeldt, who is a co-founder of Nearshoring.com. Myself, I will be doing the introduction and also will try to give you some of the hints why we decided to create our company. And Kai will then bring you directly and more precisely into the 7 myths of the nearshoring. We'll try to do this with a bit of irony, with a little bit of humor, and in a few cases also a little bit sarcastic, because in our opinion, there is a need to push, and actually there is a lot of resistance, mainly in Germany. And I would bring you a bit through the needs and through some of the resistance reasons that are given us by customers when we talk to them. Both Kai and myself, we have many, many years of experience in the IT. We gathered the majority of our experience, and we spent the majority of the years of our professional life working for big corporations. And now we decided to put this experience, to make this experience more available for medium, small enterprises, and to help them in getting international and actually in, let's say, fully utilizing the potential which is offered from nearshoring in order to be competitive and to further push innovations also from their side. Some quick info before we start. This session, please be aware that this session is going to be recorded and it will be posted on our social media, and the questions will be recorded as well. Questions will be asked at the end. You have different channels to ask questions, either through the chat or by raising the virtual hand at the end, and then we will switch on also your microphone so that you will be able to ask your questions also directly. Last information, please be aware that there is another webinar, in our opinion, very, very interesting, which is going to be organized for the 28th of May. This webinar will be then run around, we'll talk about some very interesting countries from a nearshoring perspective. Those are the Visegrad countries, which are Hungary, Poland, Czech Republic, and Slovakia. We will make a deep dive on Poland, and this session will be, this webinar on the 20th of May, will be run together with the Ausschuss der Deutschen Wirtschaft. We're also a member of, and we're really, really happy that they accepted our invitation, and so that we'll be doing this webinar today at the end of May. Now let's start a bit looking at Germany. We know the country pretty well, and we suppose many of you from the audience, you also have, we're very, let's say, skilled about what is going on in Germany, which big companies we have. On this map, you can see the majority of the big corporations that we have in Germany, all of them very well known, all of them very big and very well respected for the made in Germany. So they promise a lot of quality for the products when they go international, and also they're all of them really, really global. A few considerations when we look at this slide. So, okay, we recognize the brands, but let's have 2, 3 main considerations. The first is, if we imagine the pictures of the founders of the different companies, we may find out that the majority, the vast majority of the pictures will be black and white. This is simple because, simply because the majority of those companies have been created in the last century, and actually the big part of them in the first half of last century, some even the century before. So from one side, obviously, there is a lot of proudness of having these companies with a lot of history. From the other side, we can identify pretty soon that it's difficult in Germany to create a big corporation. Actually, the last one which really became global and leading the global market is still SAP. Okay, we had the Wirecard case, which is a bit particular, so we forget about it. But all the other ones, if we look at Siemens, Allianz, all of them have a very good brand, but they're quite old. Nonetheless, they are pushing on the market a lot of innovation. And this is what is also relevant for us. So the first thing is we do not have so many new companies coming. And the second is, let's think of the big change that is happening for those companies and for the overall industrial market in Germany. All of them are going into a huge transformation because their products are becoming more and more software-based. So if we consider also washing machine from Miele, it's becoming a piece of hardware, the traditional washing machine with a lot of software in it. If you think at the connected home and all the other things you can do with the data connection, data collection, connection, and the monitoring, so you can go into predictive maintenance and all those, let's say, scenarios which are now enabled by IoT and the digital transformation. So for all those industries, IT is becoming a fundamental part for innovation. And so they're pulling a lot of resources for the industrial innovation they need and taking all those resources more or less from the market. So for the mid-sized enterprise, it's quite difficult to fight. On the other side, there is a huge need also for all the suppliers on the supplier chain. So if we look at all the chains, there is a huge need of IT resources. In some towns like Munich, that I know pretty well, hiring a new person from a university is becoming more and more difficult. You do not only have the big names that you know from Munich, like Siemens, like Allianz, like PSH, like BMW, but in addition, you have all the major American companies from the IT, like Google, like Salesforce, which are investing a lot in this town. So getting a new student for companies became really, really difficult. So our hypothesis is that there is a huge need for IT resources in Germany. We will touch this, and Kai will show you a little bit more precisely how big is this need, how big is the whole of resources, and how eventually this problem can be solved, what we need to do, because we need to be open to work with colleagues from outside the German borders. So let's look at the second picture when we talk about innovation. I want to give you another perspective. This picture I saw, I think 2 weeks ago, on LinkedIn the first time, and it attracted my attention. What is particular here? Here you can see the top 100 most valuable startup in the world. The slide comes from CB Insights, and we may discuss if when a company is still a startup, when it is not, but still, all in one, this is pretty good representation of the most valuable startups in the world as of today. So if you look at the 100, we can see that the majority, this is nothing new, comes from the state. We are a little bit more surprised when we see that the second big group comes from China. Then we see there is India, then there is UK, and then there is some other parts of the world. Simple question, what is missing here is Europe. So in Western Europe, if we take out UK, which is traditionally very, very well linked to the Indian market and was always working with the States very, very closely. And there has always been a big innovation in the financial part and in the service part. If we look at the rest of Europe, we only have 2 countries, so 2 startups. So we just a little bit being provocative, we say Europe, 2 points. And even worse, Germany, 0 points. Austria, 0 points. France, 0 points. Italy, 0 points. We could go on with all of them. So it's clear that there is a lack of innovation power in Europe. We can claim and say that the reasons for this may be several. There is the financial situation, so the financial market, how those are supporting. There could be a little bit also the feeling of the people of creating new enterprises instead of going and working for companies which are already there, which is actually very, very attractive in Germany for students. You can go quite easily to a BMW. You can earn pretty soon good money if you work for them. So the incentive to create a new company is a little bit reduced in the Western Europe countries than in the rest of the world. And this is a problem because altogether, we risk to miss the train of innovation here. And this is one of the key reasons why we have created Nearshoring.com. Nearshoring, when we talk to customers in Germany, is still perceived mostly as a way to get access to less expensive resources. So a way of cutting costs. So when we need really to be aggressive on costs, so we may consider nearshoring, we may consider offshoring, looking to Asia, but it's really very, very tactical and only looking at the cost perspective. For us, is actually at the moment, this will be part of the 7 myths. For many companies, the question of surviving is a strategic question, how you're going to ensure you have access to resources you need for your growth plans and for your transformation plans. So how you can have the resources you need in terms of skills. So you want to have the resources and people with the right skills in the right quantity, at the right time, and obviously also at the right cost so that you can still be competitive. So it's about how you can realize your growth plans and your transformation plans. So this is actually what we aim to with Nearshoring.com. Our mission is to contribute. We're small, but we want to play our role and we want to contribute to bridge those two worlds, the world of Germany and some additional Western countries in terms of need that they have. So here we have, if we look in Germany, very innovative, the need for the very innovative industrial projects, which bring together the hardware parts, so cars, washing machines, all the other products, chemical, and the need of IT. So all the artificial intelligence, everything you can do with it, everything you can do with IoT. So all those innovation that you can bring. Here is the country where you have the need to create those innovations. And if we look at countries just outside the border from Eastern Europe, but also a bit from the South and even from North Africa, now we have a good experience with a company coming from Tunisia. So we're discovering also the Tunisian market. There is a lot of potential there. The skill level is exactly the same level of the skill that people we have here in Germany when they leave the university or after a couple of years of experience. They are really aggressive in the positive sense. They want to make experience. So we really understand our role in giving a contribution to building up this bridge between the projects and the people we have there. Also that we can also support colleagues outside Germany to grow with their ambitions, to grow their companies, and to be faced with very, very interesting projects or to grow in the skills. So it's a question also of personal realization in those countries. If we can contribute to this, then we'll be happy. Obviously, we're also commercial companies, so we're also perceiving commercial targets. But what moves us is actually the idea of bringing those two worlds together. Before going into in detail into the 7 myths with Kai, I want to give you just a first touch of the 3 main categories that customers bring to us when we approach them with nearshoring, when we ask if they're interested in the nearshoring. The first is really denying the problem. The problem is not with me, the problem does not exist. The problem is for the other companies, so we do not see any need to do anything. And this is, in a few cases, this is real, very, very few cases. The majority of the cases is really denying the problem and closing the eyes to see what the reality is, which is the problem, what is actually missing the opportunity. The second is mistrust. We know the German companies. We know German companies are always really never first users. You know, when you look at when you bring an innovation, you always look for the first users. It's very difficult to find those among German companies. They're a bit more conservative in those sense. But here is really mistrust. How can I trust somebody who speaks a different language? How can I trust a company coming from outside? How can I trust something I cannot control? So I want to have my own people here. I want to have my people sitting here now with pandemics. We have seen that actually people can work from home. But it's really, how can I trust somebody who is not really from this country, has a different mentality? And here there is a lot to do. And we need to work and to grow into this. Also, it's Europe. So we need to understand that there is one language in business which is growing up, which is English. And despite the fact that German is more comfortable, or Italian is more comfortable in Italy, or French in France, in my opinion, there is one language for business. This is to be accepted as English. Unfortunately, the new generation coming up, so the younger generation is speaking English at almost the same level of the mother language. So this is the second big part, is this mistrust. How can we reduce the mistrust? How can we increase and create trust? This is the key question. The third is a little bit linked with the first. So it's not really denying the problem. So there is a problem, we have a problem, but we can spin the wheel quicker. So we can run a bit more, we can take a little bit more of productivity from the current resources we have. We can enlarge our teams in hiring and staffing. We can enlarge our HR teams. We can ask more headhunting companies. So approaching simple more without seeing that there is the risk, the huge risk of going into huge compromises. First, the costs for hiring are growing. Second, the quality of people who are available is sometimes not anymore so high. So there are some compromises as let's take also students coming from the university with a note 3.5 up, and instead of only taking the 1.5 and the 2.0, which are, let's say, the best students of the university. So there are some ideas of solving the problem with the world I know, with the methodologies I know, with the methods I know, eventually making some compromises in how I used to work. So those are the top three, I would say, categories that we face every day when we talk to customers in the majority of the case. In many, many cases, we can convince customers that those are actually some of the myths, and Kai will bring more detail into the 7. And in a few cases, customers decide to go a different way, which is normal. But in some cases also to stay with a tactical view on nearshoring, which is let's just hire 2-3 consultants from somewhere when we really need them, and then let's see how this works. In our opinion, this is very short-sighting and actually can bring to a big risk for supporting the growth of our customers and of our companies. So this is from my side. Now I give the word to you, Kai, to bring us, please, into the 7 myths. Thank you, and then we'll be available for the questions at the end.
Yeah, thanks, Davide. Thanks, everybody. This is about very practical and not a theoretical exercise and not a kind of academic thing we do here. So we have just consolidated all the feedback we generate and all the experience we have in the market in order to generate these 7 myths we are discussing right now. So number 1 is that local hiring of IT talent is no problem. And this is really something what customers tell us. We have hired the resources we need. We grew our team last year by some percent. We don't have a problem here in the region. Oh yes, we have a problem, but others also do. So I don't have to act because it's a common problem. I just take it as it is. Or when you talk about consulting companies, IT consulting companies without international footprint, they focus on having consultants, developers locally on site and not on the bench, and start to hire as soon as they win projects, which is simply not working anymore. The reality is very simple. And I always recommend everybody to take a reality check when you are confronted with such statements. So in 2019, we have more than 120,000 open positions for IT experts in Germany, which is only one piece of the whole chain and the whole kind of statistics here. Even in 2020 and 21, and particularly in the years to come, this is going to grow. This gap is going to grow. We have a huge problem, a demographic problem, a problem of the lack of attractiveness of IT-related studies for German for German talents here. And we have, on the other hand, a drastically increasing demand for IT-related talent in the market. So Davide mentioned, we are an engineering-driven country. Our, industrial footprint relies on hardware, on products. However, today you can't sell any product anymore without any kind of features around it. You need applications, you need software, you need embedded software, you need a connected environment. You need to be able to develop data-driven business models to give your customers additional services around your product. Without that, you're completely not competitive anymore. So having on the one hand side, the decrease of, or the low number of IT students and the high number of growing demand, this gap is simply growing. And it's, for me, it's a critical factor for the location Germany in the global market. And the question that from my perspective really matter are, have you already lost projects, or have you postponed projects and critical activities because you didn't have the required talent available? And also have a look at your hiring cost. I know from my own consulting practice, it's going more and more expensive to find the right people. And these people also demand higher and higher entry salaries. And are you getting the top students from the universities? In my experience, these guys, they might still go to McKinsey, or they might go to Microsoft or Google or Apple or Amazon, all of them, opening positions here in Germany, or even to Siemens. But everyone else, who's getting the top students? And are there any additional compromises you're accepting in order to hire the required talent? And how confident are you that you're able to feed the company's growth ambitions by your hiring machines? These questions need to be asked, and when you honestly look into these questions and answer them honestly, you will find out that the lack of IT talent is reality everywhere. And we say, don't delay your projects, use nearshore. It's such an obvious opportunity, which is simply seldom really used, and seldom used well. Myth number 2. Oh yes, we have done it already. It's there. We know everything. We have our own center already established in some country. It's working well, pretty well, okay. Or we might even have some strategic partner or partners in certain countries. What I hear very often is we have tried some years ago and it failed. We just had a bad experience. We don't want to do that again. And others, again, have worked with some multinationals like IBM, Accenture, you know them all, who have the full supply chain of sourcing options from whatever country you want, but it's not helping them really to get the flexibility they are really looking for in their own project and their own development. So looking from the other side, why is nearshoring often failing? And that's a very German kind of cultural attitude towards talent coming from other countries. And I say it's not a colonialist approach. If you want to be successful, your people you're working with need to be motivated, need to be aspirational, and need to be able to leverage the talent they have. Nobody likes to be the cheap resource of somebody else. But when you are really honest and you look into situations, this is how typically German engineering-driven culture works with nearshore or offshore resources, and this is doomed to fail. So ask yourself, when you have an own center, how many people do you have in your center? Are you above critical mass? Are you able to scale up and down? Flexibility is the key criteria here. And again, what is the quality of talent you attract? What is your attrition rate? How strong is the team's loyalty to your company? And I can tell you, I have seen big companies like the ones Davide has shown on this map of Germany, I was with a big global pharmaceutical and chemicals company, and they have set up their own kind of center with 550 people. So typically some kind of above critical mass, you should be able to deliver in quality and in scalability and everything. Nevertheless, it completely failed. It completely failed. They didn't have processes. They didn't have governance. They were not able to work with these guys on a, on a kind of peer level, which allows them to perform in the way it was that they were asking for. So at the end, this company decided to give that center away to a supplier because they trusted more in the supplier to deliver the services and the quality they were asking for. And that's about integration of these teams into your own company, be it a partner company or be it your own center. Yeah, when it's your own center, you also ask yourself what kind of career perspectives these people have. We have high talented people who want to make career. And if they don't have these perspectives, they won't be loyal. They will be looking for the new opportunity at the next door. As soon as it opens up, they leave. And certainly also a problem of processes and communication. So rules of engagement needs to be clear and commonly understood on both sides. And at the end, it's all about mutual respect, kind of trust and quality in the interactions that helps you to get the quality out of the potential that is there. So when you look into the general models of nearshoring, yeah, you have the left-hand side, the external sourcing options, on the right-hand side, the internal sourcing options, be it you shop for a CV, yeah, short-term resources, body shopping, or you are looking for a project to be delivered by some partner somewhere, or you're even asking for a dedicated delivery team for long-term engagement, be it in support, application support, whatever, or be it for a strategic long-time development project. And on the right-hand side, going more to internal logic, either on the right-hand side, either opening your own center with all the risk and all the complexity related to that, or doing it with the help of a major partner in the country you have selected, which is for us often a recommended approach because you mitigate all the risk and you can use the market knowledge, the talent market knowledge, the employer brand of your partner company to hire a strong team. You can use shared services from the partner company and finance, HR, legal, whatever you need, the infrastructure and everything, so you can have an accelerated ramp up and you can mature the delivery and you can develop the loyalty of the team, and after a certain time, ownership then will be passed to the customer. So these things are all available, all known, all applied, nothing new. However, for me, the critical success factor is not the what, it's all about the how. And that's what I was mentioning before. Yeah, how you integrate these people, how you integrate the teams, how you make sure that the quality which is there, yeah, it's not a myth. This quality is there, but it needs to be allowed to be applied. And if people don't have the impression that it's valued what they do and how they do it, they simply don't do it. Yeah. And in order to leverage the potential, we need to understand how to deal with sourcing options and how to integrate them into the projects and into the companies. Myth number 3, very common. I think we have heard it many, many times. German language and on-site presence are needed. This is, the deadly argument where you can simply stop all other discussions around sourcing options outside of Germany. And customers really say, and we are always talking about quotes, so it's nothing we have invented. These are quotes. So we need support from outside Germany for staffing our projects, but can you provide us with a consultant speaking German, ready to work on site, and this for below 100 euros a day? It's really true. People just ask exactly that. Yeah, and you can become a little cynic about statements like these. You can also ask, do them also need to be blonde and drinking beer or whatever? Dancing on your table, on your desk? You just want cheap German consultants. And honestly, doesn't make sense. One thing we have learned in COVID, on-site is not needed anymore. Yeah, we are really more and more used to working in remote environments and connecting people from different locations using video conferencing, whatever kind of tools, collaboration tools, everything is available. We don't need to have people on site all the time. Still, you need it for some onboarding, but not necessary for project delivery. In the IT departments of end customers, we have now a new generation of people who are all related to Europe. They have international exposure. They have been in different countries, being in school time or during their studies. Most of them, almost all of them, speak English and also appreciate internationality. So this blockage, typically, used to not to think about this kind of stuff, it's simply a myth. It's a myth. Yeah, you can work internationally. You can work in English. And 100 euros a day, it's cost of accommodation and not of talented resources. So English, standard language, I think there's nothing we should argue about there. When you do software and IT projects, without English, you can't even utilize all the assets that are available, be it open source, be it whatever is there. Yeah. English is, for me, nothing you should worry about, next to the fact that people and the companies are, in the meantime, able to do so. And at the end, what it's about, delivering key projects faster and in high quality. That is what drives company value and not just low costs. And again, and I'm always repeating this because for me, this is a passion item, because I feel we do not do the right things here. Treat your suppliers as partners. If you don't treat them as partners, you will get what you ask for. And that's something which in many situations led to significant failure. And if we look at the real cost position, which you are going to get with nearshoring, it's still more expensive than getting some resources from Bangladesh or India or Philippines. Nevertheless, yes, it's cheaper, but it's not cheap in the sense of cheap. You can save money. It's not the 100% or the 50% you might expect. The rates are already a little higher, and you have some additional overhead and administrative and governance costs which you have to absorb. But net savings we typically find are between more 20 and to 30%, plus some additional savings on not needing a physical workspace for these people. So cost savings are realistic, but what it is all about is quality. So our whole proposition is about making clear that access to talent is a critical success factor and the quality of talent is a critical success factor. And yes, if you can save some money, that makes sense, but the key thing should be to deliver your projects fast and in quality. If it's not relevant to be fast and in quality, then it might not be a relevant project. So whatever helps you in your time to market, in the product development or the latest initiative in your company, utilize the potential we have. Another thing we often hear, it's about social security, social image by outsourcing activities in other countries. We don't want to take that risk. Some claim that their employees might be scared about export of activities to other countries. We are fully committed to the location Germany. Some even said the customer might believe that they are in financial trouble if they use nearshoring. And we also know that there's also some kind of movement of production back to Germany, or getting the supply chain closer to the headquarter country. However, what we claim, the real objectives of nearshoring are different. It's about flexibility to scale up and scale down. And it's about, closing the gap of talent we have outlined at the very beginning. Also avoid time and cost for hiring and training for own people. And at the end, compared to local consultants, the saving potential is certainly even higher. But ultimately, what it's all about, it's time to market and growth. So if you can't do the activities and initiatives you need in order to grow, or what you believe in, that these are the ones that helps you to grow, and you delay them or you can't deliver them because you don't have the right resources in place, that is then the point where you should think about utilizing nearshoring, because that's what it's all about. So it's not about taking jobs away from Germany. It's about giving work away which we can't deliver in Germany anymore, and enabling the company to grow, which is for the benefit of other employees as well. Myth number 5. Quality and control only works with your own people. Also common statement. And again, we want full control of the team. We can't control partners abroad. How can we ensure that the employees work the way we want? How can we ensure that the know-how stays within the company? Very often said. How can we protect our intellectual property? And sometimes even the fear that partners might approach the customers, bypassing them. And honestly, for me, too much worry about nothing that really matters. Because whatever we have seen here, and let's assume full control is really needed, I would claim that even this hypothesis could be challenged. But in case we assume full control is needed, how can you get that? It's all about trust and confidence, culture and collaboration, team integration and communication, governance and processes. And yes, certainly you do need contracts. But contracts are only the backdoor for some issues. Typically, you don't need contracts because no situation comes into reality where the contract conditions are somehow relevant. And if you see this, trust, confidence, culture, collaboration, integration and communication, governance and processes, it's the same as with your own team. It's nothing that differs. So at the end, it's not about control, it's about partnership on eye level. That is the lever that allows you to utilize it without being dependent on the scarce market in Germany. Let's move on to myth number, no, sorry, I still have one item, which is the advertisement here, which we put into this. The partner network we use is one that is pre-qualified. So we do some in-depth assessment of our partners we allow to be part of our network. And based on several dimensions, this is just kind of a snapshot on that. So this pre-qualification is another security lever for customers to understand that it's not that the risk is significantly reduced, and certain validity and quality checks have been done in advance, so that you can be pretty sure that these partners are not only committed and passionate about what they do, but also able to deliver what they promise. And that's always our guideline behind everything what we do. Deliver the promise and don't promise what you can't deliver. So that was the advertising. Now I'm going to number 6. Another typical claim nearshoring is for commodity activities. And customers say we don't need it because our customers want made in Germany. We are a premium provider. We do not compete on price. We differentiate through whatever kind of skills. And only for some simple commodity activities, we might, on an exceptional basis, use some near of whatever kind of shoring. The truth is, the reality might really hurt. We might not want to hear it, but the truth is absolutely clear. Made in Germany is not a brand for IT or software development. So this kind of claim does not make sense at all for any IT-related activity. I mentioned this, we don't have the students who like IT. Our neighbor countries, who often lack the industrial base we have in Germany, significantly invest in the development of IT talent. And the number of IT talent is growing around us much, much faster than in Germany. And IT is often one of the few paths into a better life, attracting not only many, and that is really important, but also the best students in the nearshoring countries. And they are smart, and they are motivated, and they have abilities we really struggle to find locally. And last but not least, there are major and successful IT service companies that have been established in these markets, and they grow fast, and they know how to do it. There is so much quality out there. Partners helping you to deliver fast and in premium quality. And then you can put your own solution as a made in Germany with some kind of additional components in the supply chain. Last but not least, nearshoring is too risky. Very simple, often heard. Customers claim, and this is particularly true for many kind of mid-sized or more locally focused companies on the IT supplier market as well as on the end customer market. Yeah, we do not have the international footprint or experience. We don't want this financial exposure. We can manage with the current setup. When the situation changes, we might consider something else. We have other, and that's a typical one. We have other priorities now and some urgent projects. We are focusing on delivering those. We don't have time to deal with anything else. Or it's not part of our culture. And even this, the last one, it's a quote. Yeah, we do not want to grow too fast. It's unbelievable what you hear outside just to avoid anybody to engage with nearshoring activities. And this is where I would like to share the well-known, but maybe not for everybody known story of the boiling frog. So if you put a frog into a pan with water and you heat this slowly and steadily, the frog will not be able to recognize the increase of the heat. And he will not leave the pan until he is finally cooked. And this is what I see with many German companies right now. The heat is increasing steadily and continuously. But not moving is not an option if you don't want to be cooked. I'm pretty sure you don't find anybody out there who have not yet lost opportunities due to the lack of talent or the right resources. Somebody else delivered them. They got the opportunity. There are always new competitors trying to enter your market. Big players are aggressive, and also delaying your own development projects is simply not an option. So my final claim here, before I then hand over back to Davide for his closing remarks, don't wait. There is an obvious potential out there, use it. The risk not to do it is much, much higher. So thank you everybody for your attention. Hope nobody is sleeping right now, and wish you all a very successful and happy day, and look forward to hearing and seeing you again. Davide.
So thank you, Kai, for showing us the 7 myths, which are actually something we face as part of our daily life at, let's say, Nearshoring.com. The remark is indeed probably the picture of the boiling frog is one of the most significant. Is really not moving is not an option. And this is something really, really, really relevant. Mainly if we consider some medium-sized companies who grew up around 2-3 customers, which is, if we make an ABC analysis of the customers, they are more or less 90% revenues. And if somebody else is able to deliver when the customer is asking for a team, this is a that means somebody is landing in the domain where you are the incumbent. And this is extremely risky because everybody's aggressive. And also what we face is that more and more, the big corporations having already those capabilities are entering more and more also the medium size with their capabilities. They can even compete on price, squeezing a little bit also the margin of medium-sized companies who are pushed to reduce the prices to compete against big ones, which is something new that we not used to have before, without the ability to squeeze a little bit of the cost or having the flexibility. And also, let's say, if a big corporation can bring to the table to a project 20 resources within 2 weeks, for a company may be really, really difficult, and this may bring to losing a project, eventually ending up with losing a customer, and then danger. So this is what we say in our daily life, and this is also the motivation for us to bring those words together. We have before I would say not all of them, but most of our delivery partners we have seen by person. We visited them in their locations. Now, because of Corona, we cannot. We hope to be able to travel again and to see a little bit how the situation is outside. But what we over is that so much energy, so much will. There are companies that in 2-3 years grew up to some hundred people, let me say. And there is really a very, very good competent resource. We're really proud of all our teams. At the moment, we have more than 6,000 people within our delivery partners, and are covering 13 countries, all of them with some specifics. So we try really to